Welcome to the Berry Tramel Show. Scott Verplank has spent 4 decades as an icon of golf in Oklahoma. U.S. Amateur champ, NCAA champion both team and individual at OSU. Ryder Cup member 2-time. Longtime Oklahoman, having put his roots down even after his career at OSU. And now we've got exciting news. Scott Verplank is joining the Sellout Crowd team. He'll also join us on the show. But first, we want to thank our sponsors, Next Generations Roofing, Weedman Lawn Service, FireLakeJobs.com, Oklahoma's Ford Dealers, Oklahoma's 988 Helpline, and Two Fellas Moving. I like helping people move. It's one of my few talents, but I'm the oddball, and that's where Two Fellas Moving comes in. Two Fellas offers free, no-strings quotes for your move. With over 20 years' experience, they've pretty much moved it all, and their services don't end at moving. Need to do some remodeling or spring cleaning? They have you covered with dumpster rentals and junk haul services. Remember, quotes are free, and there are no strings attached. If you're moving in Oklahoma, make sure to call the fellas. Visit twofellas.com for your free quote today. So we welcome in Scott Verplank. And Scott, welcome to the show, and more importantly, welcome to the Sellout Crowd Network.
Well, thanks, Barry. It's an honor to be on with you.
Hey, this is going to be fun. We're really excited. You bringing in all the people you know from the world of golf and beyond, talking golf and talking sports. Of course, you've got a 4 decades really of big time knowledge and appearances in this kind of venue. So we're glad to have you aboard. It's going to be exciting. You've already got a nice lineup of people ready to go and chat with you. Who are some of the people you're bringing in?
Well, I think I'm going to have Victor Hovland, Charles Howell, still working. I think I got Ricky Fowler still working hard, but kind of guys along the OSU golfer guys. But then I've talked to a few guys in your business that are really knowledgeable and are broadcasters and sports writers that everybody would know who they are. So we'll just see what happens. I may get fired after the very first show. So we'll just, hopefully I'm going to learn from you and Bob Stoops and everybody else and see if we can have some fun doing it.
Well, it's fantastic. Of course, if you're of a young age, you might not remember all the vintage Scott Verplank stories, but Scott goes back at least 40 years in the major golf world. And of course, you came back just in the last week or so, came back in the news with, Brian Dunlap? Nick Dunlap. Alabama's Nick Dunlap wins a PGA Tour event. The third amateur to do it. Scott Verplank is on that list. 1985 Western Open at Butler National. Still an Oklahoma State Cowboy. You win a PGA Tour event, beat Jim Thorpe in a playoff. What kind of memories flooded back as you got all those calls this week about another amateur winning on the PGA Tour?
Well, obviously a bunch of good memories. I was really pulling for the kid because Mickelson won 6 years after I did, and then it's been 33 years since an amateur, basically college kid has won on the PGA Tour, and that's a long, long drought. I mean, honestly, the kids in college now are so talented, more so today than ever, in my opinion. So there's more. Nick Dunlap actually is separated himself in his head mentally and maturity wise to be able to pull that off. But there's a 10 to 12 to 15 kids playing college right now that have plenty of game to win. It's just getting over that final hump in your head that you're good enough. So I was thrilled that Nick won, and just reminded me of basically the same stuff I went through. I just kind of was oblivious to everything outside the ropes and the media pressure and all that. And you almost have to get in a little bubble. And I was able to do it at a young age. So that's what he did. And I look forward to seeing what happens with him and see if some of these other kids can follow in his footsteps.
It seems to me, Scott, in the last decade or so, we're seeing younger and younger players excel at the highest levels. Guys winning multiple majors in their 20s, that kind of thing, a rush of 24, 25-year-olds. Back in the day, that didn't happen that often. What do you think is fueling that wave of young golfers being able to play well from the outset?
Well, I think it was the ultimate or the initial fuel was Tiger Woods. Hitting the golf scene, making golf cool, really good athlete, working out, hit the ball far, did things that a lot of people, up to that point is, well, you can't, hit the weights like that and press so hard with your body to hit it that hard. And listen, Barry, I think there's kids that grew up playing football and baseball and basketball and soccer that are now playing golf. And you look at the young guys coming out, man, they're all 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 200 pounds. They hit it 400 yards in the air. Not all of them, but the mold and the model has changed. And like I said, there's just a better level of athlete playing golf. And I think it started with Tiger Woods. It got to the point where the money has gotten big enough in golf that it's worth pursuing that if you think you're going to be a professional athlete, and you can have a long career.
That's, you talked about kids who basketball, football, baseball migrating to golf. Let's go back a long time. Scott Verplank, young kid in Dallas, headed for W.T. White High School, Brookhaven Country Club, but what sports were you interested other than golf, or were you always golf from the outset?
No, I played football. I played them all: football, basketball, soccer. I was actually on a great soccer team as probably 9 years old to 13 years old. I was on a team that we traveled around basically the southern United States and played. And I was pretty good on that team. I would have played football if I'd have grown up big enough, but I just quit growing. I was just only 5'9", 165, and that's pretty hard to be a middle linebacker at 5'9", 165. Yeah. But my soccer team, the summer I was turning 14, I guess, my soccer team was going on a 6-week trip to Maryland and Delaware and New Jersey, because we were really literally one of the best teams in the country. And I said, you know what? I can't do that. I want to play golf all summer. So that was it. That was really the decision that I'm done with soccer. I'm playing golf. So just a foolish kid's, decision, trying to live his dream. And I figured I was going to play professional golf. So turned out I got that one part right.
Is that when your golf really took off, when you sort of dedicated all of your sports resources to that? Yeah,
no doubt. Golf is all encompassing and all consuming, which is really interesting because if you get the golf bug, it's kind of like athletes in other sports. Michael Jordan Michael Jordan's a good name. He's so addicted with golf because he mastered basketball, but he can't get golf. Nobody can get golf. Golf's always gonna frustrate you and humble you, and it can't be perfected. And so it takes a lot of your time, effort, and energy to get good at golf. So yes, when I quit all the other sports, I had the crazy dream that I was going to play on the PGA Tour. So that's what I went for.
You come out of W.T. White High School, clearly one of the biggest recruits in America. But you sign with Oklahoma State, Mike Holder. What drew you to OSU and to Stillwater and to Mike Holder? A decision that obviously had a profound effect on your life.
Yeah, it did. My whole family went to the University of Texas. My dad played baseball there. My mom, my aunts and uncles, my grandparents, great grandparents. I was the first one not to go to the University of Texas. And I guess I fell in love with the dream that Holder was selling, that we're going to win, and we're going to win a lot. And I guess that fit to what I was looking for. We had a great group of players already, and I kind of wanted to play against the best players in college golf every single day. So it just worked out that way. I actually went to Oklahoma State, turned down a full ride to Texas, and went to Oklahoma State on a half scholarship.
Half scholarship, was that a common recruiting situation? Even top flight golfers getting half scholarships in those days?
It was, yeah. I mean, they really did it on the best they could do. They did it on need, but I got a half golf scholarship, but I had a half academic scholarship as well.
I got you.
I was lucky enough to make good grades, and I got some help from the college. The academic wise, my test scores were good enough and all that. But yeah, there were guys that were on full rides that really needed a full ride, and there were some guys back in the day that, if you grew up in golf, their parents might have had enough money to pay for their college, so they were on a pretty small scholarship. But that was the sacrifice you made if you wanted to be on the best team.
You, of course, you had a fantastic amateur career. You win an NCAA team title. You win an NCAA individual title. You win the U.S. Amateur. A Cowboy. When you look back on those college days, why did your career surge? Why was it so prosperous? Why did it set you up for all the things to come?
I think it was just the right environment for me. I was work hard. I didn't have a ton of other interest at that point. I just wanted to try to see how good I was at golf. Being a type 1 diabetic since 9 years old, I was pretty regimented already. So I didn't just go nuts when I went to college, like a lot of kids do. And you can't blame them for that. And it just, like I said, I was playing with the guys that I thought were the best guys in college anyway. And I was trying to compete. If I could compete with them, then I knew I could compete with everybody else playing at that level of golf.
Of course, Mike Holder was your coach. In modern times, we know Mike Holder is the athletic director at OSU, the guy who the genius fundraiser, the guy who teamed with Boone Pickens and transformed OSU athletics. And it really is not the same place it was when you were here as a player 40 years ago. But it strikes me that we're getting further and further from Mike Holder, the golf coach. We know his incredible record, but what made him so successful as the longtime leader of Cowboy golf?
Well, because he was singularly focused on putting the best team out there and winning. I mean, whatever it took to win within the rules is what he was going to do. If that meant working harder than anybody else, he recruited harder than anybody else. He raised more money than anybody else back when people weren't really raising money for golf. He saw a vision of, let's put money into this golf program and we're going to win. And he pulled it off. And then, he was a taskmaster. He was great for me because I needed someone basically to, I wouldn't say ride me, but to encourage. He would tell me I wasn't any good, and that's all I needed to hear. He was smart. Everybody's different, but he'd tell me that I wasn't really very good, or I wasn't. You're really not that good. Blah blah, and that's all I needed to hear. He could light the fire, where I'd go, well, I'll show you, pal, and off I'd go. But so in that way, he was a motivator of the guys. Some guys he'd coddle, and some guys he'd kind of try to put a boot up their butt and get them to go. But listen, he changed obviously the whole. Started with the golf program, but he changed the whole university with what he was able to do with bringing the money in through the golf team, and then expanding it with Boone Pickens into the football and ultimately everything else, the whole Olympic Village. The Oklahoma State University is an very interesting school, because if it wasn't for the golf team, we'd probably still be playing in Rust-Oleum Field, and the facilities wouldn't be very good, and the coaches would have a lot harder time than they're having now. Not that coaching is easy, because it's not, but when he got that Karsten Creek built and raised that money, and then saw a bigger vision of we could do this to the whole university. I mean, that's a game changer. So he deserves a lot of credit for that.
When you think about your playing days at OSU, what are the most vivid memories? When you think back to those days, what immediately springs to mind in terms of a favorite memory, a favorite event, one of those kinds of things?
Well, the best one was my freshman year. We won the NCAA tournament, and as a team, and I actually lost in a playoff for the individual title my freshman year. But I learned a lot in that because I was so excited that we won the team that I didn't care as much about the individual, and I made bogey on the first hole. But I learned a valuable lesson, Barry, that I need to win too. The team won, which is what we were there for, but then I kind of lost my bubble and didn't pay enough attention. I could have won the individual title as a freshman, but I kind of lost my head. We won, and that was all I was there for. Then the worst deal was I won my senior year, but we blew a 10-shot lead, I think, on the last 9 holes and let Wake Forest beat us. And I won the individual title by 6 shots, and it was the most disappointing tournament I ever won by far. I was crying walking up the last hole, and it wasn't because I won. It was because we blew this. Me and my 4 best friends, we blew this enormous lead, and lost what was it was a devastating day in my golf career, and it still is. Even though I won the tournament, it was one of the most moving days in my golf career.
When you won at Butler National on the PGA Tour that Sunday, I think it was a 2-hole playoff with Jim Thorpe, if I remember right. I told you the other day, I remember vividly that day. I was in eastern Oklahoma on some function or something, and on the way home, I stopped off in Pryor to see my uncle. I hadn't seen him in a while, and he's in his back room watching the Western Open and watching Scott Verplank. So we sat and watched the rest of the tournament with him as Scott Verplank won that memorable day in suburban Chicago. What do you remember most about that day and the aftermath of such a monumental feat?
Well, I mean, I appreciate you stopping and watching first, Barry. That's fantastic. And the fact that basically 40 years later, here we are. That's good too. Yeah. Listen, that Sunday was a rainy, it wasn't cold. It was just it cool. It'd been hot. It's Chicago in the summer, and the little front came through, and it was about 70 degrees, and it was kind of rainy and kind of a dreary day. But man, it was a big crowd. I was in the little bubble. I'd won a bunch of tournaments in a row leading up to that one, and I know this was a pro event, but I was just like, kind of like this kid this last week. I was just like, I just want to play like I've been playing and see where it stacks up. And I did looking back, I did a tremendous job of, that's all I thought about. Just play like I've been playing, and we'll add them all up at the end of the week and see where we are. I don't think I have the mental discipline to do that anymore, but I did then, and that was really the difference. I think that's kind of like we were talking about the kid this last week. He had the mental discipline just to play his game and not worry about what everybody else was doing, and sure enough, he won. But it was amazing. I laugh. It's funny. There were big crowds there, particularly for 1985, but I bet I've had 1 million people tell me, oh, yeah, that's right, you won that. I was there. And I was like, gosh, this was the biggest crowd in the history of the United States. So I do get a kick out of that. But yeah, it was a monumental event. And I was so in my bubble, I didn't probably fully appreciate it until later. But I do appreciate it now. It was looking back, and looking back, it was pretty cool that happened to me.
You went on to 6 PGA Tour victories, challenged in a couple of majors. You played in 2 Ryder Cups, had a 4-1 record in the Ryder Cup, including a hole-in-one in the Ryder Cup. When you look back, what's your number one? What's your favorite, your most treasured feat in golf? What are you most proud of doing on the golf course?
Boy, in all honesty, I would have to say the most emotional I've ever, well, the most emotional I ever felt was when we lost the NCAA tournament my senior year. But when I won in Dallas, the Byron Nelson I was 42 years old, kind of getting, long in the tooth, starting to struggle to keep up with the kids, and body was not doing great. And Byron Nelson, who mentored me as a 16 and 17 and 18-year-old, he had passed away the year before, and it was the first tournament without him there, and I'd lost the tournament in the playoff 2 or 3 years earlier. I'd had a bunch of chances to win in Dallas, where I grew up, and that was like my major. So when I actually won, I've never been that nervous as I was with a little 2-foot putt to win in Dallas. It blew away the Ryder Cup or any major or anything like that. But I snuck it in there and won, and that was the most that meant more to me than anything, just because of all the circumstances. Growing up in Dallas, having tons of great relationship with Byron Nelson, going through all the health problems that I'd had, and being able to somehow pull off winning, living a dream. I was a kid. I used to carry the sign at the Byron Nelson tournament, and my mom was the walking score. I'm a little 12-year-old kid holding the little sign, so that was my dream to win the tournament in Dallas. So. May not sound like much to Victor Hovland or Ricky Fowler, but it was a big deal to me.
Of course, we talked about your diabetes from 9 years old. How important has that been? Do you think that you've been on a half-century journey with that and been able to succeed and excel at the highest levels despite this situation and the inspiration you've provided others? How proud of you are you of the way you've sort of overcome the diabetes situation?
I don't think proud's the right. I don't really. I'm more self-deprecating than patting myself on the back. To be honest with you, I probably should be a little bit less self-deprecating and more patting myself on the back. But listen, I kind of just look at it like, if I'm talking to a high school kid who's diabetic, and I actually talk to quite a few of them. Me and my wife give college scholarships to type 1 kids, so talk to a lot. I basically say, don't look at me as the model, just look at me as like, you can do what you want. Anything's possible for you. It doesn't, it's not a death sentence or a career ender if you're diagnosed with type 1. Like I said, you don't have to model me or follow me, or I can't be your role model, but you just use me as it's doable. So that's kind of what I try to tell the kids. You don't have to do what I do or act like I act or think what I think, but just look at me as like, I can do what you can be you. It doesn't have to hold you back. So, like I said, I'm not, I wouldn't go and say that I really toot my own horn about that, but kids that want help, I'm happy to try to give them encouragement.
Excuse me. Last question, Scott. What made you decide you wanted to join the likes of us? What made you want to get into the interview business and share stories with old pals and old comrades?
Well, Barry, I have been lucky enough to do some. I get to work at the Masters on the Masters.com with a couple of buddies, and it's pretty fun being on the other side of the microphone. I get to do some stuff with ESPN at another couple golf tournaments, and someone approached me about Sellout Crowd approached me about would you want to talk about golf? And most people who know me would go, yeah, you're pretty much full of it. So you can BS pretty good. So you might be good at talking. So I said, what the heck? My golf career, I still like to play some good golf on the Champions Tour, but I've had so many injuries and got things going on around home. So I was like, yeah, I'm looking for stuff to do, and this could be fun. And it's a good way it'll be a good way for me to connect and reconnect with a lot of people that I have seen through the last 30 or 40 years, but haven't talked to as much. So hopefully I can get some good people to come on and shoot the bull with me, and it'll make for some interesting content.
Of course, and one of the things you've done is, you've always made your roots here in Oklahoma. And I said last question, this is really the last question. What made you decide to stay in Oklahoma, whether it's Stillwater or Edmond or wherever you might have hung a shingle? What is it about Oklahoma that made you not just come, but stay?
Well, I got asked that a lot, traveling the country and the world playing golf, and Oklahoma's not known for the best weather in the world, and people go, why do you live there? And I couldn't put a firm answer on it. I said, but I'll tell you what, if you'll come hang out with me, come stay at my house for 2 to 3 days, then you'll see why. Because it's all the people around here, it's the lifestyle, it's the way it's Oklahoma City, Edmond, Norman, Stillwater. It's all good people I want to be around. Hopefully they want to be around me. It's just the lifestyle here is way better than is nationally advertised, in my opinion. And it's really because of the people and like the neighborhood. You have great neighbors, great clubs, great sport, anything you want. I just don't want too many people to move here. I kind of like it. I don't want it to turn into, Dallas and Houston. I want Oklahoma City to just kind of hang where it's at.
Well, super. Well, we're glad that you're hanging with us, Scott. Welcome to Sellout Crowd. Your show is going to be a hit. I'm sure people will be looking forward to it. And so check it out very quickly. Scott's shows will be starting very soon. Thanks for joining me, Scott, and good luck with us here on Sellout Crowd.
Thanks, Barry. It's an honor to be on with you.
Well, thanks. And remember, you can now access us via the Sellout Crowd app. Just go to the App Store and search Sellout Crowd. And if this is your first time hearing or watching the show, be sure to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. And if you like what you hear, please leave a review. And remember, you can read me every day at berrytramel.com, across social media, and on selloutcrowd.com. We'll talk to you next week.